Good evening, Toledoans or people from the metropolitan area. My name is Matt Killam. We are grateful for you to have nothing better to do on a Wednesday night other than come here. I presume some of you are in a 12-step program. Ideally, those of you sitting this far, we can meet after the show. Again, this is our first live and potentially last, based on how this is going, version of our podcast. It's probably 4 or 5 episodes in. A lot of people have asked, what are you doing? What's the point of this? Easy, Gretchen. And I am the spokesperson for this evening. So we stole this idea, candidly, from a nationally recognized and very popular podcast called Smartless. It is hosted by 3 celebrities. The unique feature of it is they rotate in a guest, and 2 of the 3 members of the podcast don't know who the guest is. So some of it is scripted, some of it is improv, and the only rule that we follow as hosts is the guests have to be doing something that either we're proud of in our region, or they're doing something we want to know more about ourselves. You know Kevin and Gretchen and myself, presumably, because no one would do this if you weren't a loyal friend, in terms of showing up on a Wednesday. Do people make a community, or do community make the people? The answer is yes to both those things. I know most of you in this room, and I can tell you that it is a great honor to work and serve you, both personally and professionally, and that's certainly true of my 2 colleagues. So today is that. I cannot tell you how surprised I am about the popularity of the show. We've had over 1,000 downloads almost per episode, and about 8,000 somethings that Kevin keeps telling me about that is also important. So it's been popular, right? And it has nothing to do with the 3 of ours banter. It is really about the people in our community and celebrating them. So on behalf of the 3 of us and Dominic, who makes this function, we're grateful for you, and we're certainly grateful for the region that we live in. For those of you who do not know my more talented co-hosts, this is Kevin Mullen. He has a professional voice and understands how all this equipment works. That is his upside, and that is the end of his list.
That's it. Period.
That's right. This is Gretchen DeBacker. Am I pronouncing that?
That's, yes.
DeBacker.
There's been some confusion.
Yeah, right in the microphone.
There's
Go
been
ahead.
some confusion
That,
about
see?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her upside is availability. So here she is.
Yep.
So we didn't know how many people would show up tonight. We were grateful for that. We have 2 guests. It is Gretchen's turn. So we've got 2 guests in the green room, if you will. I think one of them is in this actual room. So Kevin and I do not know who these individuals are. In no particular order so far, we've had Nicole, who's in this room here. Yep, feel free to clap. Pat Bowe from the Andersons, Elias Ajar, Mary Brucker, and whoever you're going to see here tonight, and Jeff Smith from WTOL, who couldn't be bothered to repost his podcast. So don't think just because that nice face on television, he's a monster. But without further ado, we're going to start this, and we're going to keep this to a pretty tight hour here, or do the best we can. So let's let it rip.
We theoretically had a plan for this.
Yeah, this is the plan.
And it's already fallen apart.
All right.
It's a great start.
So
I
Gretchen,
think this is very
get
well
us going here.
executed. Well, hi, everybody. Hi. So this is a friend of mine texted me today and said, this is a live, there's going to be an audience there. And I'm like, yes, that's
That's right.
a live recording. So you're free to shout out or heckle Matt or whatever it is that you would,
Diana,
which
no.
you would like to do.
No.
You just give Diana Patton permission to
I
shout
did.
out?
I meant to
I've
say
seen,
anyone
I've
but
seen
Diana.
her without permission. I'm not sure what I want to see Diana with permission.
Okay, I think our guest is here. We'll
I
see.
hope they're nice. I hope they're
So
tall.
what we usually do on this silly little podcast is whoever's guest it is gives a few hints. These 2 dummies try to guess who it is, and it's usually not right. And then we bring the person out, and we just sort of have a conversation. That's the high bar we're going to try to hit.
do
Okay,
it.
you guys ready?
Michael Jordan.
Yes! No.
Yes.
Michael.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it's not Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. That Gretchen has been calling him incessantly. And he is unavailable.
I've been giving him my availability. It doesn't seem.
That's right. Yeah.
But
And-
David Mann, that's a good example of the kind of engagement we're looking for. David,
Yeah,
good
that's right.
example. A.
Good job, David.
A+, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So our first very special guest tonight is a man.
All right. Oh,
So
yep.
I thought I heard the word he.
Yeah, it's a he.
Okay.
They truly don't know. I've kept it a secret
I
from
think
them.
they got that part. Let's do it.
This is a person, a man, a
Okay.
person, an individual
Okay.
that I have known since 1989.
Wow.
I know I don't look like I've been alive that long, but
Yeah. You don't look alive now.
this person is a leader in our community.
Leader in our community.
He's a pretty popular guy. Polling would suggest that high 70s. Don't look that up, but pretty high.
Polling.
This individual is the 64th person in Toledo to do what he does. Please welcome Mayor Wade Kapszukiewicz.
There it is. So when you said polling, and I started to lean that way,
Yeah,
but you also talked about popularity,
sure.
and so that's why I was like, I'm a little nervous on that one. No offense.
Mayor,
I'm
welcome.
kidding.
Yeah, no kidding.
My polling is excellent outside of my own home.
Right.
I think if you count the dogs, I have about a 16% approval rating, and I don't even approve of myself. So it's I do better when I get out and about.
This is a real strong dog download demo, this show. So tonight is your night.
So you must not have had anything else to do tonight.
Yeah, I was just kind of lounging around waiting for 6:45.
Yeah.
No, I actually it's worked out perfectly. Came from the office, and knowing that this was a podcast, I figured I would color coordinate. So I went with like the pink flamingo socks to match
Yeah.
the pink.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
in
so-
typical fashion, I'll
Polling is looking up.
Yeah, no, because I think when people think of me, primarily they think fashion.
I do.
And so I didn't want to disappoint.
Right.
So.
In typical fashion, as many of you know, I used to work for this man, and I was as usual, my tortured existence, texting him 5 minutes past when he was supposed to be here, saying, "Are you here? Are you here? Are you pulling in the parking lot?" And he's like, "I'll be there in 90 seconds."
Yeah.
Which is what you do a lot.
I kind of model myself after Phineas Fogg. Does anyone get that reference? I figured
This is going to be a great show.
pink socks and obscure literary references. Actually, in the movie, he was described as Phineas Fogg. Actually, in the book, he was Phileas Fogg. Because we want to connect with the audience. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
No, he was the protagonist from Around the World in 80 Days.
Okay.
The plot of it. So,
No, please.
If there were any listeners, they have. I guess you can't change channels, but no. The idea is, going around, and he succeeds in going around the world in 80 days and doesn't realize it.
That's a spoiler alert for those of you who have not read.
That's a spoiler alert
Yeah,
for
nice.
a book Jules Verne wrote in
Yeah.
the 19th century.
Well, look at these people. They're not readers.
But he took his air balloon against the rotation of the Earth and gained a day over the international date line. But he spent that day just lounging at his flat in London, mad that he lost the bet, and he just couldn't face the shame of going into the club. And he to show you that this is a somewhat dated story. The afternoon paper arrives, and he sees the date. Mm-hmm. And he realizes what happened, and then the end of the book/movie is spent him racing against time, and dramatically he ascends the stairs of the club as the 12 gong. He makes it by seconds. I could have done with all that and simply say, though I'm always running late, I usually make it just in time.
Just in time.
that
Just in
is-
time.
Well, that's the show.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
That's all the time we had. Just to be fair, Mayor, Gretchen's harassing you for texting you 90 seconds after you were supposed to be here.
All right, Kevin, that's enough of that story.
I mean,
Yeah.
Gretchen was also about an hour late to her own podcast. so.
My sense, when I began driving over here, I said to myself, obviously I'm late, but if anyone knows I'm going to be late, it would be Gretchen.
That's
so, the over-under on me being on time is so. But I don't think I think
It's perfect.
You weren't late.
This
It's
I
absolutely
arrived
perfect
before
timing.
the 12th gong of the
Yes.
grandfather clock at the London Club or whatever.
Well, speaking
Let's
of the London
move on
Club,
from
that's
Jules
called a transition.
Jules
Yes.
Verne from Jules Verne text.
Yes.
Obscure.
So it starts from the beginning. I'm sure that you're prepared for this.
Sure.
This is actually the second podcast that I've interviewed you for. We spent the majority of the last one talking about Milwaukee Bucks.
Do you remember that when we
It
recorded
was
that?
in your living room.
That's
It was
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
But let's start from the beginning. I'm sure you've got questions.
We talked about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, it was the best afternoon of my life.
I had because I had a job my freshman year in
Yes.
college, and I went to undergrad in Milwaukee, where my job was to go into the locker rooms after NBA games and interview the players.
Yes.
And
Officially, or you were just doing that?
no,
on
that
your
was
own?
my job. So there were three of us who did this.
Uh-huh.
We sat on the Bucks bench.
Yeah.
All right, and had no duties other than to watch 41 NBA games at what the equivalent had to have been. God knows how much those seats would have cost.
Sure.
And then there was a quick spasm of 15 minutes of job-related activity, and then it was back to and the spasm of job-related activity was our job was to simply go in and get quotes from the locker room.
Sure.
And because Milwaukee's in the Central Time Zone, so especially if they're playing a team in the Eastern, the instant the game ends, they're already an hour closer to deadline in, Boston, Philadelphia, whatever. So there's three of us.
Mm-hmm.
One of us would go into the Bucks locker room, the other one would go into the visitors locker room. And the other two kids who did this with me were from Milwaukee.
Okay.
And they would fight over interviewing the Bucks. And I'm like, you go interview Brad Lowhouse all you want.
Right. Or Jack Sikma.
Or Jack Sikma, who was on the team. But that era.
He was a dreamboat. Google it.
Yes, he was. Was he a dreamboat when he had the curly hair?
Yeah.
The
We're
curly
losing
blonde
him.
Norwegian hair?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm a basketball fan, and I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I haven't even gotten to the punchline. The punchline.
Yeah.
While they
There's
were,
and he won't.
Wait, there's a
And I won't.
punchline?
while they were fighting over interviewing D-level players, this was the 90-91 basketball season. So I got to walk right in and interview Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Charles Buck. I remember being taller than Isaiah Thomas, or at least being,
Sure.
Michael Jordan. I mean, that was a fun. So
When you talk about that last sort of
is that what I'm here to talk about?
spasm, 100%.
We're here to talk about spasms.
Yes.
Okay, good.
This is a medical show.
I'm your man. Then. Okay.
The quick spasm of activity towards the end of the day, how much did that prepare you for public service?
Say it again.
The chaos of hitting those deadlines and rushing into a chaotic locker room.
And being smarter than everyone else to get the right person to.
No, I think
What brought
every
Little Wade to the mayor of Toledo, Ohio? Start us with Little Wade Kapszukiewicz.
little
rapper.
Little Wade.
Now that you've said it, that's now the nickname.
I think it's a Lil.
Yeah,
Lil
yeah.
Wade. Yeah.
Sadly,
No,
Wade
no.
hasn't been little several pounds ago, but no, actually, when I was growing up in Toledo, I did not come from a very political family at all. I mean, my parents voted, and I would, tag along and go into the booth. Those are the days of the old machines, and so I mean, they were civically engaged, but it's not like, sometimes you hear about the families where they'd gather around the table and talk about issues. Just the opposite. In fact, this will tell you about this. Well, this will tell you a lot. The political engagement that I was exposed to as a teenager growing up, well, actually from as early as I can remember up till I went away to college, came from my dad.
Okay.
When he directed my sister and I, anytime anyone from any campaign calls, I don't care, the Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter, and if they're asking for a yard sign, say yes. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, these are the days where yard signs, now they have those metal poles and there's a plastic pullover, but back in the day, in my day, they were wooden, they had one wooden plank, and they're usually cardboard. So this was the shtick. Donna Owens calls, or Doug DeGood, this
We
is
tried
the
to
era.
get Donna Owens tonight, but she was busy, so you were our backup.
She could. No, she could. She'd be here.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so whoever, it doesn't matter, party, we say yes. The car would, come one day. There'd be one day someone would come. I don't know if anyone here knows Dominic Montaldo, but probably Dominic himself would have been the person who jumped out, would put the stake of the candidate in the front yard. By the time they had turned the corner, our assignment was to go out, take out the yard sign, rip off the cardboard thing, and my dad's evil genius was revealed. Take the cardboard into the garage to use that to catch the oil under the car he was inevitably fixing, and then take the wood out to the garden because he'd use it as a tomato stake. So to say that we came from a political family would be a bit of
That's
a
genius.
stretch.
A recycling family.
I suppose.
And your dad did what?
My dad was a Toledo police officer.
Okay.
And now he's dealing blackjack as a 78-year-old dealer at the casino.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Sure.
So anyhow, I went to college wanting, as a journalism major, thinking I might end up, writing for the, Washington Post or something like that.
Sports specifically or anything? Or you're just a consumer
I
of
don't
information?
know.
Don't dodge the question.
Don't dodge the question. I don't think I knew. I knew that I liked writing and sort of thinking in the world in the who, what, when, where, why, how, inverted pyramid style, and I figured I'd work it out. As it turns out, my freshman year I had to take a intro to poli-sci course just to get my journalism degree. I'd never taken political science when I at St. Francis, to the extent the word science was in the course title. I figured I wasn't going to like it.
Sure.
But I had to take it, and the professor was, and this would not be unusual at a Jesuit school like Marquette University, was a Catholic priest. Okay, fine. But he was a charismatic, still is, he's obviously older now, just kind of a charismatic, and I'll just be honest, for all the talk there is about the religious right, he would have been the religious left, I suppose. And I didn't realize it at the time, but generationally looking back, he would have come of age, he's Irish, his name's O'Brien, and came of age at a time, when the Kennedys were on the ascent, and the Peace Corps, and from the Catholic perspective, this would be right after Vatican II. It was a different time when there really was. And he would always talk, we can change the world, and it's quaint to look back on it now, but there was a time when people looked at folks who went into public life as
from a Camelot perspective, something similar.
well, yeah, just hey, this is a way. He would say, look, there's people in this world that make decisions that affect millions of homeless people and hundreds of thousands, and we call them mayors, we call them congressmen, we call them senators, and wouldn't it be
Park employees.
and parks employees?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better if those people were in it for the right reasons? And goodness knows, 30-some years later, not everyone I have encountered in this vocation
Who specifically?
meets that standard.
Yeah.
But I do say to myself from time to time, if I ever feel as though I've kind of strayed from Father O'Brien's,
Sure.
then I should, go work for the parks or sell insurance or something like that. So, but anyhow, so it really, and I rarely.
Can we talk about how quickly you just connected? Just go sell insurance or work for the parks.
or sell the parks?
Absolutely.
So
That's right.
I know, but I don't talk much about it. I'm not one of. Everything with me is a long answer, but. The long and short of it is, it really is a Catholic priest and his influence that changed my life, changed my vocation, my direction, but I never talk about it because I just hate those politicians who wear their "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets and then vote to cut funding for Head Start or vote to allow, why should we deprive children of the honor of carrying an AR-15, like Jesus would do. I hate it.
Yeah.
And so
we can clap for that. Yeah, it's a live audience. That we're supposed to do it.
So I just
We're going to edit that clapping out.
Good. Okay. I just never talk about it.
Yeah.
But since you forced me, he's the guy. And so, I began to develop different interests and picked up a double major, went to grad school. But I've kept in touch. When I got married, we flew him into town to.
Married at what age?
When I got married?
Yeah. No, anyone in the audience. No, you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Sure.
Yeah. Let's just take a real quick round table.
This is a pop quiz.
Where's Donna Owens when you need her?
Yeah. No, I was 28.
Okay.
And my wife was 26.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right.
Under the law, yes.
Way
So,
to
but
go,
anyhow,
Mayor.
But we flew him in, and he married us. And
O'Brien married you.
Father O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Father Tim
forgive me,
O'Brien
yes.
at historic St. Pat's, which he loved because
Yeah.
there were shamrocks embedded in the
For sure.
things.
Yep.
But anyhow, I still keep in touch. He's pushing 80 now and
Yeah.
slowing down a little bit, but I still keep in touch with him. But I don't like talking about that because I don't want to be one of these. I'm such a
Campaigning.
great
Get
Christian,
it.
and meanwhile,
Well, we have no idea
we're
what
gonna
to talk about in terms of
build
Christianity.
walls
so
and do things
worry
like
not.
that. You know,
Can you-
very
I thought we were here
unchristian
to talk
things.
about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh, okay.
and the Milwaukee Bucks are the most Christian basketball team in the history of the NBA, and I've always said that.
Everybody knows that.
Mayor, can you give us a quick?
No.
Okay. Can you talk about JFK quickly? That's a joke.
Okay.
Did you ask about JFK?
Yes.
No,
That's
you
how
don't
we're
want
gonna
to
close
ask
the show.
that about JFK.
So the lineage of your leadership, what was the first step in terms of public service? And can you bring us up to the offices that you held, what
Yeah,
you ran
so,
for? You're undefeated, right? That's the
I am. I'm 10 for 10.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Give me the 10.
And
Yeah, we can
oh,
clap.
no, come on. The you want me to list the 10? I mean, I was elected to the school board in 95, city council in 99, reelected in 1 and 3, county treasurer in 4. I hope I have the math right. Reelected in 8, 12, and 16. Mayor in 17, reelected in 21. I think that's 10.
Okay.
And actually, the only election I've lost was for student body president my freshman. Well, it wasn't president because freshman could. It was to be the treasurer of the student body at St. Francis. I lost to John Schlageter, who is now he's an attorney in still around in Sylvania. And whenever I bump into him, I'm like, you're the guy. You know, so, but no, I got
Chuck Ely's got that guy too somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
that's
the-
right. Well, no, Chuck
Yeah.
Ely doesn't have that guy. He
Like grade
never
school.
lost a game ever.
He lost
grade
in
school.
Horst to
Grade school.
Schlageter.
Okay.
It's an unbelievable
Now,
coincidence.
he may have lost when he got to Canada because he went famously. I mean, he is a civil rights. There's a civil rights part of his story that is often overlooked. I mean, here in town, it's great, 35-0, never lost in high school, whatever. But he wanted to play quarterback, and that was an era, and so he just broke every record here at UT. But when he was done, it was time to go to the NFL. The NFL didn't want him as a quarterback. They're like, well, maybe wide receiver, maybe running back, maybe
Defensive back.
yeah, and he's like, no. It was a civil rights move, actually, for him to say, well, the heck with you, then I'll maybe as a forerunner of LeBron, I will take my talents, not to Miami Beach, but I'll take my talents to Edmonton or wherever. And he played quarterback,
Well,
and probably certainly cost himself. Well, they don't pay. The pay was a little different in the early 70s, but he cost himself hundreds of thousands of dollars. He could have stayed on an NFL roster for 10, 15 years, as I admit it, and he
Had
wanted
the
to play
pension
quarterback.
and had everything else that came with it, that's right.
Anyhow,
I think most people don't realize that all those records that Chuck Ely set at UT, he did it in just 3 years.
Yep.
Because his freshman year, he was on the freshman team.
yeah, the freshmen were not allowed to play until 1972.
So when you look at the guys who have come and matched him and have done it in, especially no disrespect to the guys on this current UT football team, but they did it in 6 years. Mm-hmm. He did it in 3. Really incredible. And it's taken you 10.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. No, but in the history of college football, okay, and that goes to 1869. I think the first game may have been Rutgers versus Princeton. And to show you that the game was a little different, I think the final score of that game was 4-0. The longest winning streak in the history of college football, I think Oklahoma won 47 games in a row in the 50s. Our coach is named Bud Wilkinson. I did not prepare on the way over, so I'm kind of riffing, but I think if you look that up, that might be right. There's another team that might have won, and actually I think it's like Amos Alonzo Stagg's Yale team from 1890.
I love that.
Won 38 in a row, and the
So
University
good.
of Toledo is third. That 35-game winning streak ranks as the third longest in a sport that goes back to the years after the Civil War. I mean, that's a big deal and a big record that he was a part of. And I think he's from Massillon. I think he's from or Portsmouth, maybe down on the river. He didn't lose a game in high school either.
Right.
So I have all right. So I know Gretchen has questions, and we probably should let Gretchen talk at some point.
Kevin knows a lot about
I
losing.
don't want to talk about
knows a lot
sports
about
anymore.
Kevin is our expert on losing.
I'm very good at
I
it.
don't like sports.
Who am I
I've lost
offending? I don't think
every
I've offended
election
anyone.
I
I've
have a
ever
question.
tried
I have
to
a
be in.
sports-related question.
Okay.
No, I have to ask. This is not sports related. What is not in your brain? Like, what is the thing that you're supposed to remember that you
I don't
just
know.
can't because you filled it with all the
When's your
rest
wife's
of
birthday?
this?
Here's the my memory. People have noticed my memory over the years, and when I was a little kid, I just remember going. I remember it was dark and it was a red brick building, but my parents even took me like, this guy's a little unusual. Let's someone study that
Were you
brain
allowed
for
to
us.
be in this red brick building?
That was the owner of the house that dropped you off.
No, so it is, for what it's worth, it is not a photographic memory. Someone with a photographic memory remembers everything they read, everything. So, if I were to read on that menu, that is not the case with me. But anything that I read that I find interesting, that's the stuff that I just can't. Now, fortunately, I find a lot of stuff interesting. So, what don't I remember? Like, I don't know.
What a bizarre question to ask.
No.
That's the kind of thing. What don't you remember?
I can tell
come
you
on.
anything you need to know about any World Series champion. Meanwhile,
Remember when we did
no.
that?
So, you know my wife. Is it Sarah? Is it Cindy?
It's
Cindy.
both.
And it's something
It's
with an
Sarah.
S. I think I have
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but let's talk more about the 1931 World Series. So,
But remember
anyhow,
when
so
we
it
were
is.
running, we did that trivia contest. Remember that?
Well, yeah, that's right.
And so we
do
didn't. You
remember
didn't
that.
have any other skill sets. No offense, but we had the trip. We did. It was a.
We won.
No offense taken, I'm sure.
No, it was a.
All the candidates for office.
Right.
It was over.
It was a talent.
Yeah, it was a
contest.
talent show. Everyone running for office in that year.
Right.
Was invited to, what was the place?
It was,
Georgie's?
Georgie's, yeah.
Over on Adams. And
People were like singing, or reading
candidates like,
poetry,
what's your
yeah.
talent? So,
Yeah.
so I don't know, maybe someone might have played the piano, or
Right.
I don't remember.
And you danced.
No.
No. So what I did was, I don't know how we had this set up. They must have known what my
Right.
talent was.
Yes.
But I think someone would shout out a year.
Yes.
And whatever the year was, I would then say who won the World Series, who won the Heisman Trophy, who won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So,
And people would just like yell out years, and then
yep.
then that's what you.
So,
would do.
anywho, and despite that, I
Yeah.
still got elected that year. Just,
Do we want to try that in the audience? Anyone want to yell at a year?
you're welcome. But here's the thing. People do that sometimes.
1975.
Okay, 1975.
World Series.
Here's what I want. Someone open up your phone, or else I could be making this all up, and it's less fun for me.
All right,
We
Diane-
assume that's the case, regardless.
75. I'll do both.
1978 World Series.
I'll do
2025 World
We'll start with
Series.
75. 75. So
Lottery tickets for next week.
75. The Reds beat the Red Sox in 7 games. The Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns in 6 games. The 75 Super Bowl, it depends if you're talking about the Super Bowl that took place in January of 75 or the 75 season.
Jesus Christ, just
In
answer
both
it.
cases, it was the Steelers. The Steelers won Super Bowl 9 and 10, both in 75. Hockey, 75 would have been the Flyers, and I believe it or not, they beat the Buffalo Sabres. The best picture that year was All the President's Men, in a controversial decision. Most people looking back said it should have been Network, should have been whatever. What about the
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
the roads?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
as
why
long
we're
as we're
here.
here?
That's why we're here.
1978, I'll do it quickly. 78 was the Yankees beat the Dodgers. Yeah, that's 78. Yankees beat the Dodgers. The Washington Bullets beat Jack Sikma's Seattle Supersonics. What other sports? It was hockey.
you're-
The Canadiens were in.
Yeah,
they
this
beat the
is-
Bruins.
this is
Your
over.
children's names are?
Again in 78, the Steelers again won the Super Bowl, and the Deer Hunter. won
Okay, we're
Best
going to
Picture.
launch a new
Thank
segment.
God. That is
That's
amazing.
That is
Crazy.
amazing.
That is.
I
That's
would
why-
rather
that's why
be
you-
remembered for something else.
That's why you won.
that's-
So
yeah.
we're starting a new
No, I
little,
won despite that talent.
a
I
little
assure you.
segment. I mean, that's why you won the talent show.
What is my wife's name? Is it Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Sikma.
I only remember the important things, of course. So.
So we're starting a new segment. We had 2 options to go with for this new little segment for our podcast. One was to give my mother's review of every episode that came out, and we decided that,
Those have not been positive.
yeah. And
They
so
haven't been great.
We're
They haven't been great reviews.
No, we have some work to do.
She said nicer things about Matt and I.
She did. Yeah,
Or
typical.
Matt and me.
Good reason.
Me, Matt and me.
Yeah.
Did Gretchen cover that we've known each other since we were 15 years old?
No, we
Yes.
just spent 40 minutes talking about how bizarre you are.
Good.
Yes, we were in High School Musicals together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, how relatable.
The first, when I met Gretchen, we were in, it's not Guys and Dolls, Bye Bye Birdie.
Bye Bye Birdie.
And I was part of the
I
proletariat.
didn't talk to him
was
much
a-
because he was in the chorus. And
I was in
had
the
a
chorus,
lead.
and Gretchen had, I think, a lead.
I did.
I think you'd describe a lead.
Sure.
She was.
Her mother would not agree.
No, she was among the leads.
And your mother did my makeup.
That's right. My mom did makeup.
Were you Rosie?
No, that's not. No, I was.
She was.
the
You were the
mother.
wife of.
Yeah.
You were John Dillon's wife.
Yes.
Who's a dermatologist
He
now?
has 12 kids.
Oh my God.
He has 12 kids. Wow.
I thought
All
this
right.
couldn't get worse, and here we are talking about a high school musical the two of you were
Yeah,
in.
that's it.
Holy cow.
Okay, so let's go to our. So instead of my mother's review of the podcast,
And then
we're gonna
we
go
were
with-
in Fiddler on the Roof, and you did have a lead in Fiddler on the
I
Roof.
was.
There we go.
I
Yep.
was
You were
Golda in
Golda.
Fiddler on the
You
Roof.
were
Two
Yes.
more hours
Absolutely.
of
Yes.
a high school
If
musical.
I
As
were a
we
rich
as
man.
we blissfully wind down this interview, so we started. We're going to do this new segment with our guests, and it's
Okay.
it's 419 questions. So we're going to ask you 4 questions, totally random, just sort of.
Can they be about Super Bowl winners?
No,
And, oh.
no,
They're
nothing of
exclusively
these
about
are about
Super Bowl
sports.
winners.
I guarantee it. And these should be relatively quick responses.
Point taken.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that this is a family show, what would you say is your guilty pleasure?
I used to like to golf. I don't have time for that anymore. I will confess, like sometimes at the end of a day long, whatever, I have been known to retreat into my man attic because I had a man cave, but since I live in Old Orchard, it flooded 6 months after whatever. So
Back
now
to
we
that
had to
streets
take
question.
I will play, 11 o'clock at night. I'll just pop in the Xbox and play like a Madden just to kind of.
right.
And actually, I thought I was unique to that. And then the American version of House of Cards came.
Yeah.
And the evil, murderous Frank Underwood did the
Yes.
same thing. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
that's
geez,
right.
you know, so-
Tomato, tomato.
Any other
I don't think
similarities?
And the
guilty.
similarities don't
Yeah.
stop.
And the similarities
How
don't.
many people have you
Oh, the
killed?
one did stop.
Okay, so the second
many?
Once again,
question-
the British version was better, but
Second
forgotten.
question
He's
is,
forgotten that.
what is your favorite Toledo holiday? So not national holiday, Toledo Day.
Mud Hens
holiday.
opening day.
Okay.
It's not really a holiday, but it feels like it. It is a secular holiday.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can clap for Mud Hens
absolutely.
opening day.
No, it's everyone is down and around the stadium, and there's like a energy in the air, and everyone's happy. I love opening day.
I mean, I think that's got to count as a Toledo holiday because doesn't City Council, if City Council has a meeting on Mud Hens opening day, they cancel.
Your opinion on city council, Mayor?
We have a wonderful city council. They
Just go
work hard.
right down the line.
Yeah.
No?
And maybe to pull it a little bit back on topic, because of the wonderful relationship we have with City Council, our roads are getting better, and we're fixing more and more of them, et cetera. So anyhow,
All right.
Okay, I have one more question, and then Matt's going to have the final question. What does, if you could do anything, or you could imagine, what does your absolute perfect day look like? What would it be?
sitting here with the three of you.
I knew it.
talking about the.
I knew it.
What a loada.
I don't know. It would probably be out. It would be outside somewhere. I like being outside.
Tell me more.
Oh, I see. Is this a setup?
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not a
not.
setup. It
It's
really
not.
is true.
Just a totally candid.
No, it really is. It would probably be outside at a Metro Park in October when the leaves, or a city park. That's true enough.
We're all
in a
in
city
it
park.
together.
Any park.
Any park.
But it would be, there would be a chill in the air. It would be like 55 degrees. The leaves would be changing. There'd be a, sort of a crisp October. If Grantland Rice were writing about it, he might say, outlined against a blue-gray October sky, the four horsemen rode again. It was, which he did write.
He did, yeah.
Grantland Rice did say that.
That's
Good
a good way to
good job,
keep an
Gretchen.
answer
No, I've
short.
heard that before.
Yeah.
Is to say if
To quote
this
Grantland
author,
Rice.
yeah,
Gretchen-
I was done with Jules Verne. It was time for Grantland Rice. No, it would be outside, just kind of enjoying nature.
And your family would be nowhere around you.
They would be
in the flooded basement.
Yeah, they'd be in a,
he's completely forgotten
Where I've moved my children.
they would be there.
The
and I would try
1982
my
Milwaukee
best
Bucks.
No, they would be there, and I would try my best to have them not like ruin my
Right.
Zen moment of.
We can edit this out. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
They're gonna
No, they-
hear
of course.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
no,
that?
they
They're gonna
won't. No,
hear
they
this.
won't. No, they're
That's
too young
true.
to listen to a
So
podcast.
I guess my closing question for the Lever Art community is, if you had to take it, okay, this is a serious show. If you had to describe a Toledoan, who is a Toledoan to you?
Toledoan is a gritty, hard-working, not necessarily blue-collar per se, but a Toledoan is someone who has battled back from adversity, who has, maybe taken a punch to the gut, a time or two, not literally, but, figuratively. Things haven't always gone right for him or her. But he or she always finds a way to get back up and to keep getting back up and fighting and scratching and clawing and working hard to do what's right. And a Toledoan is also someone who loves his or her town and has a little bit of maybe a chip on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. Like, darn it, we can do big things. We can. We can sit at the grown-up table at Thanksgiving every once in a while, and maybe there's a sense somewhere in the back of his or her mind that everyone else is kind of snickering at us, or everyone, how we're, the old John Denver song from the '70s, or the jokes, and so darn it, they bow up their neck and say we can do it, and that is why when we get a chance to do exciting things, or when big things come to our community, it just means more to us. So the Solheim Cup, that was just such a big deal, and there was a pride. The Gwen Stefani concert, it just meant more. And again, not to play to the crowd, but this Glass City Metro Park. I had when that opened, I was there for opening weekend. The first several times I went, I had people come up to me, and this is not exaggeration, with tears in their eyes. And they'd give me a big hug, and they'd say, thank you. And I was like, you should probably be thanking Matt Killam, but we don't want to give him any credit. It's like,
You said you're welcome.
I didn't have as much to do with it as you think, but it didn't. We knew we could do it.
Yeah.
We knew Toledo could, and there's a pride when Toledo pulls off something big that, darn it, I knew we could do it.
Absolutely.
So that's a Toledoan, kind of a little bit of a, little bit of a bowling alley and beer kind of town. But that's real. That's real. We are authentic, right? Yeah. Better for worse. We're not phony. And I love it. I just think I just think it's the best city, and it's just the right size. Look, we're not New York. I don't want to be New York.
Right.
They can keep the Yankees. We got the Mud Hens. You know what I mean? And we have some world-class amenities in our mid-sized town. I mean, we're a mid-sized town. We got one of the best zoos in the country, one of the best museums in the country. We do have the best park system in the country. And you can enjoy all of that I read this once, so I can't forget it. You can do all that for 1/8 of what it would cost to live in Boston, 1/9 of what it would cost to live in Chicago. I think now it's 1/12 of what it would cost to live in LA. So you can get some nice, family-friendly, world-class amenities in a way that doesn't break the bank. And there's something to be said just about the realness and friendliness of folks in Toledo. So that is what I think.
I think that's great. Mayor, Mayor, what after your third term? What are your plans? After that,
I don't. This is, and maybe I'll blame Father O'Brien for this. As I should. This is a different type of work. This isn't like the corporate world where you can say, okay, I will begin in the paperclip department. And then after 3 years, I will advance to be, the vice president for paperclip procurement, and then, eventually I'll be on the track to become CEO of Paperclips. It's just different. There are people over the years who could have been, from this community who would have been wonderful congressmen, but they aren't congressmen because we have a great congresswoman, and she's been there, and she should be there as long as she. So I would hate to think that somehow like, well, if you don't ascend to then you've somehow failed. No, it really is you just got to find a way to make a difference wherever you are. There have been U.S. senators who haven't done a dime's worth of good for anyone, and they prove that every day. I think they proved it earlier today.
Yes, they did.
But there have been school board members who've totally changed the world. And so it's just a question of trying to find a way to make a difference somewhere. So I don't know what I'll be doing next year, 2 years, 10 years, but it'll be wherever I think I can be making a difference. And that doesn't necessarily, might not even be in government, doesn't necessarily mean that there is no like next step. It's just a different kind of work.
That's exciting. Right?
Yeah, the crowd seems excited.
This is a group of homeless schizophrenics, so don't worry about it.
I have found my audience.
That's right.
That's good. Then.
Well, thank you so much for being here,
No.
Mayor Wade Kapszukiewicz.
Yep, thank you. Do I leave? That's it? Okay.
Thank you.
I liked that. Do I leave?
Yeah, do
Is
I
this the
leave?
first time you've told him he has to leave?
No,
Okay. Is it the last time?
probably.
Okay. All right. We're
We're
in the middle of
recording.
a live show right now. He's still going. It's not going to stop him. It doesn't matter. I don't even know what's happening.
You
right
didn't
now.
tell them, right? No. Yeah.
I'm going to have to edit all of this
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Thank you for being here. Yes,
right.
you did
You
keep it a
did.
secret. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
You can stick around.
Yeah, you can stay if you want.
You don't have to leave,
You don't
but
have
you
to
just
leave.
can't stay
Madden
here.
is calling his name.
All right, we have one more guest, but first, before we bring he or she up,
Oh boy.
let's thank Tolhouse, right?
Yeah.
How great is this place?
You're right. Tell me a little bit about it.
You can. Angela and Will Lucas founded this place, as you all know, a couple years ago, and it's just been an amazing community asset, place to meet, place to have fun. And so we're so happy they let us record our podcast here and that you all came. So thank you. Okay. Our second very special celebrity guest is a woman.
Okay.
I got it. Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Michelle. Michelle
Exactly.
B. Jordan.
This person is a native of Michigan.
Okay.
They're out.
This person I would describe as a Toledo icon.
Okay.
I would further describe her to be the daughter of a Toledo icon.
Yeah, so I know who it is now.
Who?
And she tried to. She came up to me before the
You
show,
are a liar.
and she said, "I think I know who the guests are going to be. I think it's going to be Chris Peterson
And Trisha Cullop."
And I said, "And I think it's you." And
Current director of the Toledo Museum of Art, one of the directors, Rhonda Sewell.
Rhonda Sewell.
she kept that lie going
know, she
up
did
until the last second.
And
I
in
don't know
full
if you
disclosure,
guys saw-
she's the one that texted me an hour ago and said, "Is this a live show? What is it?"
I mean, that's impressive. I literally heard you tell your table, "It's not me," right before you were introduced as
She knows
you.
how to keep a secret, right?
Yeah, well done.
Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is your second podcast recording of the day.
It is. I did a podcast at, well, I don't know
Say
yet.
it right now.
4 o'clock today. Many of you know Riley, who is Chris Peterson's wonderful daughter, who works at Toledo City Paper. They have a podcast
Are you
called.
soliciting another podcast?
Yes,
on
I
our
am.
Podcast?
Yes, I am. Shamelessly. It's called According To, and they interview Toledoans about the great things that occur in Toledo. And I mentioned several of you in the audience, so I can't wait till that comes up.
Did you talk about?
Not one of you at all.
I mean, I knew that, but I didn't need you to say it out loud. Hey, Matt, I'm going to take it as a compliment that she's plugging their podcast on our podcast.
Love it.
Because it just probably means our audience is bigger.
That's right.
That's probably not true.
Has to
It's all collaborative. It's fine. It's
So,
fine.
well, now we don't know if we can trust you, so it's hard to say. Rhonda, let's start from the very top. Most people know of you, but I don't know if they know you as if you were little Wade Kapszukiewicz's friend.
Lil
What-
Rhonda.
Lil
if you will.
Rhonda.
What would that?
Lil
Lil
Rhonda.
Rhonda.
I am. I also some. You know how much I think of your mother, and I'll get to that shortly. But I don't know. Bring us from baby to the Rhonda that we knew in Toledo, Ohio.
So
Let's start with 0 to 5.
okay, so the one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I was actually born in Bowling Green, Ohio, and survive being born in Wood County Hospital.
Wow, how about that? We should clap for that.
Yeah, clap
Show
for
is
that.
sponsored
Yeah.
by Wood County.
I was going to
And-
say
The
that's
show was formerly
Yes.
sponsored by Wood County Hospital.
Exactly.
Soul, our only sponsor.
Yeah, there it goes.
There they go. Lost that ad.
Rhonda, how many African Americans were born in Wood County
So
Hospital?
I was the
You were the third?
I was the first African American baby born in Wood. No lie. In Wood County Hospital. That's my claim to fame. There were many migrant workers in Bowling Green. This is the 60s at the time, so there was many.
The 60s?
Yes, yes, the 60s. Yes, the 1900s.
1960s.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that I was actually raised in a fraternity house. Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity is the first black collegiate fraternity in the United States, founded in 1908, and my dad happened to be the president. And back then, when dinosaurs roamed the land, my mom was the den mother, so
sure.
they would have older women that would come in and darn their socks and cook supper for them. And they just put her down as a student, as the den mother, and she was really a fellow student. But yeah, they were married. They transferred from the University of Kentucky. Pat Riley went to school with them
Sure.
at UK at the time. You know, so
How long-
going on the sports theme here.
Yeah,
Just dropped a name, but yeah. So
How long were you in the fraternity house?
until they graduated, so that would have been about 2.5 years.
Okay.
And back then, the African American writer James Baldwin has a connection to BGSU. There's even
didn't know that either.
a wing named after him there, and he would come. And my mom said she would take me to lectures with him in the room. And everyone knows, you know, I'm a reader. I love Black literature. And to be in the same airspace and share the same molecules as James Baldwin,
Right.
even though I don't remember it, I was a baby at the time. But she goes, yeah, I would take you to lectures all the time with James Baldwin. And it's just like, thank you, Lord. Like,
sure.
that's just,
Right.
that's powerful. But yeah, and then we moved to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where my dad got his MPH, a master's in public health, and then his first job was at the health department here in the city of Toledo, Ohio. So that brought us back to Toledo. Yeah.
What made him follow that train of schooling?
He was just a smarty pants. Like
Okay.
he
Easy with the language on this.
yeah,
stuff.
I'm sorry. He got a scholarship and just always was a public health kind of person,
Sure.
always wanting to do right.
Did you
by
live in a
people.
fraternity house at UT when he was here?
No.
Don't answer that question.
No, just say no, not at all.
I
Yeah,
feel like the head of the
right.
health department staying as far away from
Yeah.
a fraternity house as
Yeah,
possible.
exactly.
Right.
But it's a really funny thing. My baby pictures look far different from probably any of yours. It's a bunch of
Keg
these
stands,
keg stands.
flip
I was
Baby
called
keg stands.
I was called the chick magnet.
Same here.
Yeah, you were too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you were. But
That
no,
meant
it's
something
just an
different when-
interesting. It's an interesting background, that's for sure. And then later in life, Will Lucas, hey. Later in life, I became an adjunct instructor from about 1992 to 2012 at BGSU, so I came full circle.
But in the midst of that, first job out of college, and where did you go to school? Your career path, I think, is a particularly interesting one. So if you don't mind,
Yeah.
kind of walking us through that.
Yeah, for sure. So my parents split up when I was about 10 years old. Dad went to Chicago. Mom stayed here. And I went to St. Angela Hall. Many people remember St. Angela Hall. It's a defunct elementary school now in the Old West End. I'm still friends with all of my elementary school friends there, which is so ironic, you know, to still be friends with the people from elementary school,
Especially with your personality.
especially with mine. Yeah,
I mean,
especially
That's a
with
nice
long
to our
haul.
guests.
And
Yeah.
and then
Even this,
yes,
this interview's been draining.
yeah, it's very draining. And then ninth grade went to St. Ursula Academy. But then high school was 10th through 12th grade in Michigan.
Okay.
So my mom moved me to Michigan to Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Pioneer.
You guys, many of you park
Yeah.
in their parking lot when you go to the big house and Chrysler Arena and all those places.
The jump from here to
Then-
Ann Arbor, is that apple to apple comparison? Was that
Oh,
transition?
yeah. Like, so being in the Ursuline order, it was just, we were a family of faith. So, going to public school, even though college prep.
Do you know
just-
Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah,
Father O'Brien.
Father O'Brien?
Of course
That's
I
right.
do.
Mr. O'Brien.
Of course I do. And it's
Okay.
hard to, like growing up in Catholic schools, it's hard not to do, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Sometimes I forget, I'm Protestant. Oh, I forgot about that. but had a wonderful, and it really prepared me for college. Undergrad, I went to Michigan State University. It was kind of weird growing up in Ann Arbor
Sure.
and going to MSU. It would have been worse going to the Ohio State University, but went to hey,
Sarah's down. Keep it down.
hey,
Yeah, easy,
calm it
Sarah.
down. This is a family show.
Yeah.
And
It's not like that
then
shitty city paper podcast. Your words, Rhonda.
yeah, and then after that, so I always say that Toledo has kind of this rubber band effect
Yeah.
that people leave, but then they come back
Yes.
here. It's a great family-oriented town. It's a great town.
Yes, it is.
But went to the City University of London in England. And many of you will remember Ferdinand Aubergenois. His son is the actor Rene Aubergenois on Benson and Soap. I'm dating myself. Deep Space Nine for some of you newbies, Star Trek
Star Trek.
fans.
Dave.
He was my professor at the City University of London, where I studied international journalism. And so he hired me to be a reporter at The Blade, but he wouldn't say The Blade. He kept saying, I have the perfect job for you in Toledo. And I called my mom. You can ask her to this day. I called everybody, my dad. I'm like, I'm going to Spain. Oh my God, my first job.
yeah.
My first job out of grad school, I'm going to Spain.
6 and 1,
Yeah,
it's the
and
same.
he was
Yeah.
from Lausanne, Switzerland, so he had the accent. And then I found out it was here in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
So I started at the tender age of 21 as a reporter for The Blade and worked there for 18 years after that.
I don't know how to make this connection. We can edit it out, but it probably isn't lost that the leadership in our Toledo in the community has the ability to write and communicate properly. Right. This isn't a soapbox by any means, and I've never been confused as a great communicator, but that is a lost art. And when you're talking about leading communities and individuals being able to articulate things in a concise manner for what you're not hearing now is of real benefit. Has that been sort of a binding component of your professions? Has it been a lean back, a fall back into?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It's a great segue and question.
What's that? I didn't
because-
hear what you said.
No, great, Matt.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Eat it, city paper.
No, but but the one thing that's so powerful about that is that during my tenure at the Blade newspaper, like I said, it was 18 years from the age of 21 on. I really felt social responsibility,
Sure.
a personal responsibility to the field of journalism, to do my best to communicate to those who weren't at the scene or those who didn't hear the story, to communicate to my readers, what that person felt like losing someone, or what that person felt like, going through like some big trauma
Some tragedy,
or
yeah.
tragedy or something of that sort. So I would take a lot of pride in doing that, but that's a heavy burden
Absolutely.
to carry. I remember coming home sometimes and just like crying
Sure.
because I would.
You're an empath.
I am an empath.
absolutely.
My friend Diana and I talk about that all the time. You have to have an outlet if you are an empath. And so I've always felt like an empath. I've had that responsibility. I remember, I was a cub reporter. So I would cover the 4 to midnight shift, the graveyard shift. Nobody wanted to do. So all we did is chase ambulances all the time.
disaster.
And we would go to disaster. And I remember covering a story, some of you might even remember it, where
Kevin's birth.
No.
Disaster.
No, but this was a really
big
sad,
story.
this was a really sad story where a tree, it was just a weird fluke. Lightning struck a tree and fell on a family's car that was just backing up in a storm, and everyone died except the father who was driving the car. So as you can imagine, the guilt, losing his wife, losing his kids, all in one fell swoop. And here I am as a reporter for The Blade trying to make deadline, trying to make sure that I got the photographs, that got the quotes. And somehow I was the only reporter that they let into their home. And it was just the way I approached it.
You're a person.
Well, it was the empathy.
Sure.
Being an empath, you have those qualities to talk to people in such a manner that really says, you're real with them. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I want to bring your wife and your kids I want people to know who they were and the importance of them, that their life mattered, and they're like, come on in.
Yeah.
And I made deadline and I did all of that, but I did it authentically. I didn't do it in a way that you see now with journalism. I'm really sad of it's gone to entertainment instead of real objectivity and sensitivity. And so those are some of the more powerful stories that I remember. I did a lot of fun stories as well.
Sure.
So,
I think it's easy to look at a journalist and talk about, as Matt talked about, that ability to tell a story. But I also think the interesting piece about it, and I'm a recovering journalist myself, but the key part of the job wasn't just about me telling a story, but it's about me really telling someone else's story. And I'm curious, kind of for you, it's, when I look at The Blade today, when I look at TV stations in Toledo today, there's a lot more reporters that look like me than look like you. And I can only imagine during the 18-year career, it probably was not a majority newspaper. And so was there an additional responsibility for you as a person of color in bringing your voice to some of those stories as well?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Kevin, because a lot of people also don't know. Many people know Bishop Robert Culp here in Toledo, kind of an
Legend,
iconic
absolutely.
bishop in his 80s. It was himself and some other black ministers at the time that really put pressure on the Block family for not hiring journalists, not just black journalists, but journalists who reflected the community that we were living in. They wanted more women as journalists. They wanted more Latinx. They wanted more African American that reflected the community. So they went in and had this big talk with them. And that was one of the reasons I always, when I see Bishop Culp, I'm like, thank you for making me the woman I am today, because he is the one that I credit for. Of course, it was skill set, it was being a good writer and all of those things, but it was advocates in our community.
Sure.
Advocates in our community who said, we're not seeing people who look like us to reflect, some of the nuances of our community, and you're missing out on that. And there are young journalists out there who have the capability, and that's why I was hired.
Yeah.
Call it what you want.
Yeah,
you can
we're
call
glad
it
for that.
affirmative action, you can call it whatever. But I had someone giving me an opportunity. That's what most people just need, is an
Sure.
opportunity.
Right.
So that's why, I was hired. It was 1988 when dinosaurs roamed the land.
Wow.
Do you
Yeah,
know, do you know
that's
who won the
old.
World Series in 19?
I do not. I
bet Wade does. Don't ask.
The show is, yeah.
Don't ask. We ain't got
Dodgers.
time for that.
Did
The
the
Dodgers.
Dodgers win?
His part is over. You don't have to keep
All
asking.
I know, I can tell you, Mayor, I did play powder puff football in high school, and I did play basketball in both junior high and elementary school, and then became the statistician for the boys team. And then that's
bet
when
you
I
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was a
We
fun
all know why
time.
that happened.
What
This is
yeah,
Good transition.
That's right.
This is a fun game to play. Is just drop facts on
Yeah.
on Wade,
Yeah.
just to help fill his brain with
Yeah,
other
he
random
can't
crap.
respond. He's over there.
And he's like, oh man, because something's going to get pushed out, right? I feel like it's got to be full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now that he knows your athletic background,
It's going to be weaved in.
he just
Oh, I
lost
love
Babe
that.
Ruth.
I
Like
love
Babe
that.
Ruth is gone.
But
now.
we're both
Replaced
we
by
were both
Powder Puff.
journalism majors,
Right.
and he's a Franny, and I went to St. Ursula, so we have a lot of commonalities.
Well, let's ask you then. How
So are you the
gonna
next
fix
mayor?
The roads?
Hang on, let's start with
Oh,
Gretchen's
wait.
question. Gretchen's question is, how do we fix the roads? And then we'll get to
How are you
mine.
going to do it?
Because I only have my question if you answer the first one correctly.
No, part of the job that I have part of the job that I had at the library and part of the job that I have now at the Toledo Museum of Art is governmental affairs. So I am an advocate.
Yes, you are.
And I sit on many boards, and I feel that I can get things done very quickly by sitting on those boards and advocating. I also am not a lobbyist, registered lobbyist, but I am an advocate for the organizations that I work for, so I can bring people closer to the mission and values of the organization I'm working for and get money, okay? So a lot of the changes, I respect elected officials. However, the way that I advocate is different from being an elected official. I don't have what it takes, I don't think, to be an elected official, but I do have what it takes to be an advocate in a different path.
What current elected official do you think doesn't have what it takes? I mean, I'm just.
I plead the
I think she
Fifth
said part of-
Amendment. I plead the Fifth.
She
Yeah.
said part of her
Answer for
job
that.
is government relations.
That's-
and you're like,
Yeah.
I want you to piss off
Neutrality.
somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
at the risk of putting you on a spot here,
Yeah.
there's some qualifications that you think that you don't have, or some, is it that you're too much of an empath? Do you feel like, what makes you not?
No, it's just a different methodology.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a totally different methodology. I'm good at being an advocate
Absolutely.
to try to get funding for the organizations that I work for, and bringing people closer to that mission. I'm good at that strategy. Being a politician takes other layers
Sure.
that I don't think I have the patience for.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I definitely empathize with elected officials.
Yeah, for sure.
When I think about you, Rhonda, one of the things I think about is the hashtag Rhonda has spoken.
Yeah.
Can you give me the backstory on that? Where did that come from?
Me.
I love it.
It really did. I mean,
Now, we're going to have to pay you for using that?
yes, you are. Yes, you are. My attorney here.
Are other people allowed
My
to?
attorney is here also.
Both of your attorneys.
No, it's
I'm
you
feeling
know,
underrepresented.
I don't know. I've been on social media since it started, 2009 or so.
Cave drawings.
And
Well, those
and
were the first.
Yeah, those were the first. And then I just, hashtags were big, and it was a algorithm thing, like if you use a hashtag so many times, you can go and see who's following you. And the one thing I have always prided myself on is the credibility of what I'm saying. And so, someone said, when I read your stories in the morning, I just scroll and keep on scrolling and keep on scrolling. I'm not a good Twitter person with so many characters. I like telling a full story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, drops mic. I just spoke, on this subject. And I do my research.
Yes.
I make sure that it's accurate. And I love that hashtag Ryan Bunch. Many of you know Ryan Bunch in the community. He was like, Rhonda, that is such a good hashtag for you. And you know how people change their brand? I will never change that hashtag. I love it.
I think actually, I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. It's always been interesting to me because I think one of the things that makes that true is that you are a great listener, right? So actually, before you can have spoken, you had to have listened.
Yeah.
And back it up to your journalism days, speaking for people who are not at the table in your current position, you had to have listened first, right? So you've certainly have an accurate hashtag and spoken, but you can't get there. You can't be as effective as you are without listening, which I think is a good transition into one of, and we'll make this brief, although her career deserves its own show. You know how intimidated I am by your mom. So make sure you tell her that I said like a lot of good stuff. I will. But can you talk a little bit about who this is to the community? And also, if you don't mind, as somebody who is born from people who have done well and I'm proud of, what it's like to step into sort of her ether as well.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for acknowledging my mom. She is the glue that holds our family together.
I believe it.
She just retired after 49 years of service.
Yeah.
As CEO of the Area Office on Aging of Northwest Ohio. But the thing that a lot of people don't know about Mom is that she grew up extremely poor.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Johnson is her name, for those who don't know. My dad grew up with the silver spoon in his mouth, totally opposite people. And she was really raised by grandmothers and great-grandmothers, and she recalls, quilting bees, and she'd sit under the table and just listen to these elders. Sure. And she is the most non-judgmental person, the most we call her the queen of diplomacy. She's just a super rock star, and she will be 80 this year, which is unbelievable because I'm like, what kind of cold cream are you using, Mom? Because people often say, is that your older sister? She's, but it's because of her spirit is so good. And this is the thing, as parents, we all must know. You don't want your kids to walk in your shadow. And that, my mom never forced me to do that. But she did instill and pour into me so many good things. Like we were reading Dr. Seuss and all that when I was little, but we were also reading Nikki Giovanni, My House, and Amiri Baraka. And she wanted me to know, she wanted me to know culture.
Yeah.
And the importance of my culture, my heritage, being a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she was incredible. She was
Absolutely.
an incredible mom growing up. And the thing I remember most about my mom is that she would never baby talk to me. Mm-hmm. She would say, I don't know, Rhonda, what do you think? And she would have an opinion, but she would just listen to me. And maybe that's where I developed the art of listening, because she would always say, I'm not sure what I feel about that opinion. Let me hear your opinion about it. And I would give it to her, and this was at 5, right?
Yeah.
So Mom and I are still best friends, and that's something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Gretchen has her stupid part of the show now.
Okay.
So.
Nice
We
setup,
give
man.
you one
Transition.
spot, and that's got to tear it down.
Yeah.
I think it's great, Gretchen.
Thank
I think
you,
you're doing great.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Meg.
Yeah.
Let's all make Gretchen feel better about
Yeah,
herself.
not a
all right?
charitable
On the count
clap
of
at
3.
all. Yeah, on to Gretchen's 4 questions. Okay.
All right, well, we
the
need
lesson
to.
learned is we can't let Matt
No, we can't.
have an angle on the guest where his back is to us, because he doesn't even know we're here. It's
I
like,
agree.
thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you heard from you may have heard from our previous guests, it's a new little stupid feature we're doing. So we're going to ask you 4 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, which one of us is your favorite?
Well, that is very hard to But Gretchen, it's you.
I did. I already knew.
Yeah.
I already knew.
Yeah.
That wasn't really one of them. I was just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite Toledo holiday?
That little weed thing that grew up. I
Christmas
thought that was
weed.
so
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. All right,
Yeah,
Toledo
that
weed,
was
yeah.
the coolest thing. We made
Yeah.
international news on that.
Yep.
And it was a weed
Yep.
growing, for those of you who don't know, and people
That was
start
so fun.
people
Yeah,
not
the Christmas weed.
yeah.
That's right. Rhonda Sewell, African American leader, favorite holiday. You remember the Christmas weed?
April 20th.
Yeah. Wow. What a profound. What a.
Now that it's
leader.
legal, we can all celebrate the Christmas weed.
And we have.
But this was a weed that I
was a
think
weed.
Wade and his team were supposed to cut down.
Yeah,
and then just didn't.
It was saved.
as a
saved
gift
It was
to all
saved,
of us.
yeah,
Remember
by
we-
Toledoans.
The 2 taglines are
Yeah.
Wade Kapszukiewicz, when you're thinking the city, we're 1/12 of Los Angeles. And Rhonda says, go yay weed.
Yay, weed. No, I just
Welcome
thought
to
that was
Toledo.
the most precious,
Yeah. It
It was
funniest.
so organic, you know.
It
the
was
people
so
were like,
organic.
Yeah.
And
It's not your show,
Very
man.
good,
Yeah.
David. Very
Yeah.
good.
I was hoping.
Yeah,
good
no,
one, David.
that's a funny one. to me.
Second question. What is your guilty pleasure?
The Christmas. Okay. It's a radio show. Just a reminder.
So
No one saw
Christ
you
almighty.
lift that
Yeah.
glass.
Good Lord. Nice guess.
I always say I cannot sit next to this man. 'cause
You're
he's
not
so
the only
funny.
woman to say
So my
No, I'm serious.
so
Today, not the only one
most
today.
of-
Today,
most of
yeah.
my relatives hail from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And everyone knows Kentucky is famous for its
Literacy.
bourbon.
Oh.
No, literacy for bourbon. And it's so bad.
So I thought we were all going to guess.
Yes, yeah. No.
Yeah. No one from
And,
Kentucky
and
listens
we
to this
call
show.
we call it our brown stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my grandmother used to drink old Kentucky bourbon, on the rocks. But what I like so much about bourbon is that it is a definitely an intelligent person's drink because it's a conversational drink. You're only supposed to have one per night, right? And let the ice do what it does. And the purists would say don't put any ice in
right.
there, right? So, that's my guilty pleasure,
So
bourbon.
just to let you know, this is an intelligent person's drink. Gretchen hates.
Gretchen, what are you drinking?
Gretchen hates bourbon. So
Not bourbon.
connect those dots. All right. Another one of
Okay,
these
not
amazing
you.
questions.
Okay.
This is a real good one.
Uh-oh.
If you could be reincarnated
Oh.
as any person
Oh, that's
ever.
easy.
Okay, who would it be?
Everybody knows who it is, who knows me, Billie Holiday.
Why is that?
She's my muse. I have gardenias tattooed on my back of her.
So do I. I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
Another connection.
Yeah. I had no idea.
One day she burned her hair, and as most black women do, and most women, period, they always have a plan B. They always have a plan B. So she had gardenias that a fan gave her, and she put them in her hair, and it became her trademark. You see pictures of her with the gardenias in her hair. And I tattooed 2 gardenias on my back to signify not only her, to pay homage to her, but also I would call my daughters my little gardenias. I have twin daughters who will be 24 this
clap for that, for
year.
sure.
Yeah. And they were born at 23 weeks gestation and weighing only 1 pound. And the gardenia is a pungent flower, but it's delicate at the same time. It's so delicate. And it reminded me of my daughters and the power of Billie Holiday. And my grandmother and great-grandmother used to always play Billie Holiday. And I would say as a little girl, I love that man singing. And my grandmother and great-grandmothers would say, no, honey, that's a woman. And I'm like, nope, that's a man. That's a man singing. She had such a powerful voice. But, just to, if you know Lady Day's story, she was really the first victim of the war on drugs. She was so many different things. And a victim of the time period, too. A lot of heroin use among jazz singers at the time, and a lot of exploitation of the patriarchy. And she just, I don't know, I resonate. You know how you can resonate with a singer or an iconic figure? I resonate with Billie Holiday. I would love to sit down and hang out with her and have dinner with her, and I just think, and bourbon definitely.
Sure.
And I just think that if I had the choice, I would have lived during the Harlem Renaissance period.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're going to close with the same question we asked our mayor. When you think of a Toledoan, who is that?
I also, when you asked the mayor that question, I also thought of the word grit. Toledoans have a lot of grit. I think, however, at this time period in 2024, we are over the whole John Denver. We're over the self-esteem issue that we really did have at one time. You have people like the Andrew Newbys and the Christian Kaisers and the Angela and Will Lucases who are taking chances on economic development, on growth in this city, Arc Restoration. I live in the Wonder Bread building right down the street. They recognize the blight that they grew up with and said, no more. Why is this? This is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Toledo. I get to live here, and the ugly word of gentrification doesn't even come up because this is more investment, economic investment to make the neighborhood better. And the familial kind of ties that we have when we come here, it emits such good feelings when we have businesses like this. So I just think that it's grit, it's pride, the whole "you will do better" in Toledo. Thank God for John Amato.
Absolutely.
For resurrecting that billboard that was established by Toledo businessmen over 100 years ago. They were saying they were trying to get businesses here, and it worked. You have the glass mogul of Edward Drummond Libby and his wife, who was really the powerhouse behind the art museum, Florence Scott Libby, taking a chance and building a museum that sits today and is one of the top 10 in the entire country. Established in 1912. I mean, these are the things, the anchor institutions that your previous guest, your mayor, talked about. We are the top in almost everything that we do. The one thing that wasn't mentioned, our library system just got the National Medal Award, the highest award that you can ever get. And we know that public libraries are the most democratic of all institutions. And so, to have all of these marks, there's a reason why we have a #1 Metro Parks. There's a reason why we have a top 10 museum. There's a reason why the zoo is always mentioned as one of the best in the country. There's a reason why the library got the National Medal Award. We are a city, we're now the hottest city in real estate right now, And so gone are the days of the self-esteem issue. We are on top. Like, all of my friends from Michigan are like, oh my God, when can we come there?
And that's 2 people right there.
Yeah, 2 people.
Imagine the tourism
Imagine
surge.
the word spread.
Yeah.
No, but that's the grit definitely.
Yeah.
But it's also one that there's a lot of pride in Toledoans, people who ride or die for Toledo.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah.
Rhonda, you're one of my favorite people. You're one of all
Yeah,
of
you
our
have to say that
favorite
now.
people.
She said you were
well,
her
I have to
favorite.
reciprocate. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
We
Thank you.
appreciate
Love
it.
you all.
Thank you.
Love
the
you
audience for
guys.
doing it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Kevin, where can they find this program?
Yeah, so certainly huge thanks to both of our guests today. Thank you to Mayor Wade Kapszukiewicz. Thank you to Rhonda Sewell. And thank you to everybody who came out to Tolhouse to be a part of this. The beautiful thing about a podcast is nobody can actually see if anyone's here. It's just an applause track.
Thousands of people showed up.
Yeah, we talked about it on the way in. So if you guys haven't met, this is our good friend Dominic, who does all of the engineering for us. And the only reference Dominic has gotten like 5 episodes in is at one point, Gretchen made a joke that Matt and I did not understand because she's a lot older than we are.
Do you see this abuse?
And so she looked at Dominic. She was like, and that was about the closest we got to acknowledging Dominic. But we appreciate everything he does for us, and certainly this wonderful place. If you want to listen to the podcast, check out the website 419podcast.com or anywhere you get podcasts. This is the 419.